I was living alone in a small rental house just outside town. It was one of those quiet places at the end of a dead-end road, where nothing really happens. No traffic. No people walking by. Just silence. I had gotten used to being alone. I worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, so most of my days were spent inside, sitting in front of my computer. I rarely had visitors, and if someone ever came over, they would always call or text first. That's why, when I heard the knocking, it immediately felt strange. It was late in the evening, around 8:45 p.m. I was sitting on the couch, watching TV, when suddenly, knock, 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 knock. 4 loud knocks echoed through the house. I paused the TV and sat still. For a moment, I thought maybe I imagined it. But then, knock, knock. 2 more knocks followed, slower this time. Like whoever was outside was waiting. My heart started beating faster. No one ever came to my house unannounced. I slowly stood up and walked toward the door, trying to figure out who it could possibly be. And as I got closer, the knocking stopped. Complete silence. I reached the door and looked through the peephole. What I saw next made me freeze. I leaned closer to the peephole, trying to focus in the darkness outside. At first, I couldn't see anything, just the dim glow of the porch light and shadows. Then slowly, a figure came into view. A man was standing right outside my door. He was holding a medium-sized cardboard box in his hands. He looked like a delivery guy, dark jacket, baseball cap, nothing unusual at first glance. But something about him felt off. He stood completely still, not knocking anymore, just waiting, watching. I stayed silent and kept observing him through the peephole. Then suddenly, he knocked again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, I didn't open the door right away. Ask through the door who he was. He spoke calmly, saying he had a package for a delivery and needed a signature. I slowly opened the door just a little, keeping the chain lock on. As soon as he saw me, he checked his device and read out a name. But it wasn't mine. Not even close. I told him he had the wrong house. But then, he looked again, paused, and said my exact address out loud. I felt a chill run down my spine. I told him again, there's no one here with that name. He just stared at me for a moment, silently, too long. Then suddenly, he nodded, said he'd return the package, and turned away. I watched him walk off into the darkness, but there was something strange. There was no car, no truck, no sign of any delivery vehicle, just silence. And that's when I realized something wasn't right. The next night, I tried to forget what happened. I told myself it was just a mistake, a wrong address, nothing more. But deep down, something didn't feel right. That night, I stayed inside earlier than usual. I kept the lights on, trying to distract myself. Then, at the same time as before, I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks at the front door. My stomach dropped. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just sat there, listening. The knocking came again. This time, more firm, more confident. I slowly got up and walked toward the door, but I didn't open it. I leaned toward the peephole, and there he was. The same man, same clothes, same presence. But this time, something was different. He didn't have the box. His hands were empty. He just stood there, staring at the door, waiting, like he knew someone was inside. I stayed completely silent. Seconds felt like minutes. Then suddenly, he spoke. Not loud, but clear enough to hear through the door. Hello. No response from me. He stood there for a few more seconds, then slowly turned his head, not walking away, just observing, looking at the house, the windows, the sides, like he was studying it, planning something. Then finally, after what felt like forever, he turned around and walked away. But this time, he didn't disappear into the distance. He just lingered. And that's when I knew. This wasn't random anymore. He was coming back. The next day felt normal. No knocking. No strange sounds. Nothing. I tried to convince myself that it was over. Maybe he really did have the wrong house. Maybe it was just a one-time mistake. But that peace didn't last long. Because the next night, everything changed again. It started the same way. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, the sound didn't just come from the front door. A few seconds later, I heard something else. From the side of the house. Knock, knock. My heart started racing. I didn't understand what was happening. I slowly walked toward the front door and looked through the peephole. And there he was again. But something was different. He wasn't holding anything. No box. No device. Nothing. He just stood there, staring, waiting. Then suddenly, as if he could feel me watching, he turned his head slightly, directly toward the door, directly toward me, like he knew. My blood ran cold. I stepped back instantly, trying not to make a sound. After a long, tense silence, he turned around and walked away again. But this time, I didn't feel safe, because later that night, when I looked out the window, I saw him, standing across the street, in the darkness, just watching my house, not moving, not leaving, just waiting. The next morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. This wasn't a coincidence anymore. This was something else. I decided to call the police and explain everything. The knocking, the man, the way he kept coming back. They told me to stay alert and lock everything. So that night, I made sure every door and window was secured. I kept the lights on, and I stayed awake. But around the same time again, I heard it. Knock, knock. This time, it was softer, more controlled, but it didn't stop. Then suddenly, I heard a new sound. From the back of the house, a faint metallic noise, like something being dragged or forced. I froze. My breathing became shallow. I slowly walked toward the back of the house, trying not to make any sound. And then I heard it clearly. The back door. Someone was there, trying to open it. The doorknob began to turn, slowly, testing the lock. Then again, this time more forcefully. I panicked and grabbed my phone, dialing emergency services immediately. As I was on the call, the knocking started again at the front door. Loud, fast, aggressive. At the same time, scratching sounds came from the back door, metal against wood, like someone trying to force their way inside. I could hear the operator asking me questions, but I was too focused on the sounds outside. Then suddenly, everything stopped. Silence. Complete silence. I stayed frozen for a few seconds, not sure if it was over. Then the police arrived. They checked the entire house, and when they reached the back door, they found it. Scratch marks. Deep ones. Clear signs that someone had tried to break in. If I hadn't called, they might have gotten inside. After that night, I couldn't sleep properly for days. Every sound made me jump. Every knock, every footstep outside, felt like him coming back. The police investigation didn't take long. They eventually found the man. When they searched his car, they discovered something disturbing. Fake delivery packages, a small device used to scan or record, and notes about different houses. Not just mine. He wasn't lost. He wasn't confused. He was checking houses, studying them, watching which homes reacted, and which ones didn't. The police told me something that made my blood run cold. He would knock on doors first. If someone answered, he would leave. But if no one answered, he would come back later and try to break in. That's when I realized, the first night, when I opened the door and spoke to him, I didn't just answer a knock. I changed something. I made him leave. And that might have saved my life. But even now, sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear it. Knock, knock. And every time, I sit there in silence, hoping it's just my imagination. Because if it's not, then one day, he might come back again.